That'd be great. All right. Today, in this series on marriage called All's Not Fair, with Love and War, we are looking at the possibility that could our marriages actually be about something bigger than just ourselves. And lots of times when we get married, all we're really thinking about is us. And there is potential that we want to look at today that God brings us together for something way bigger than just us. And again, Dave Wilson will be here to give that message, and we're really excited about that.
Except I'm glad to be here from Detroit, Michigan. Anybody from Michigan out here? Couple? Nobody. Anybody like the Detroit Lions? Nobody. I mean, the last service I was in here a couple hours ago, there were people saying they're from Michigan. They were all lying, weren't they? I got to say this. When Ann and I flew in Friday afternoon, your mountains are awesome. If you ever complain about living here, just come to where I live and you'll love this place. I mean, it's a great place. So I am really glad to be here, and I do marriage mentoring, nothing like that. Trust me. If you're thinking about doing it, it's nothing like that. It really can be a great deal. But here's what I do. Ann and I, my wife and I, have been speaking all weekend here on marriage. And she's actually down at the South Campus speaking right now. I think. I don't know. Are they done? They still going down there? I hope. Hopefully, I'll see her and we'll go home together eventually sometime today. Because I dropped her off down there this morning. I haven't seen her since. But we've been talking about marriage. And today we're going to end sort of the marriage retreat with you and part of this series talking about legacy. And I'm really going to talk about 3 commitments that you and I need to make that'll change our life and change our legacy. And I'm staying over here at Little America. You been there? Yeah, nice place. And I was last night looking online for a definition of commitment or commit. Here's what it says. To commit is to promise or give loyalty, time, or money to a particular person, principle, or plan of action. I don't see you writing anything down. You're not, and I don't want you to write that down, okay? I don't. Because I'm not a definition guy, but I just wanted to see, what does it say a commitment is? And when I think of commitment, I think of one story I'm going to tell you. I told 2 years ago at the marriage. How many were here 2 years ago when Ann and I spoke? So a few of you remember this story. Some of you came this year, and if you didn't get to come, it's a great weekend. Come, we even have DVDs of the weekend that you can just grab of Rock Your Marriage if you want to get something on marriage that you missed this weekend for whatever reason. But when I think of commitment, here's what I think of. I've been married 30 years, going to be 31 this May. And 5 years ago, we were, obviously coming up on our 25th wedding anniversary, which I've been told's like a big one, And I'm a guy, so I'm like, anniversaries are like birthdays. Who really cares, right? But 25 is like big. So I kept thinking, man, I got to do something like special for my wife and surprise her, and it's probably going to cost money because I was thinking I want to go on a trip. I want to surprise her with a trip. And you don't know me very well, but Dave knows me, and he knows I'm the cheapest guy in the world. I hate to spend money. Anybody like me? Anybody married to somebody like me? Just a tightwad? If I spend money, it's on me, nobody else. I don't need to spend money. I don't want to spend money. But I knew it was like a big anniversary, so I got to do something special. It's going to cost some money. So I started praying in November, all right? Every single day. I didn't miss a day. Started praying in November. Didn't tell Ann. It's just between me and God. And here's my prayer. I'm not kidding. I'm like, God, our anniversary's in May. And he's like, yeah, I know. I did that. I said, God, I want to do something really awesome. I'd love to go on a trip, but I don't want to spend any money. I'm asking you to provide a trip miraculously free. Free. I said free every single day. You're supposed to pray specifically. I did. Why not? It doesn't work for the Lions, but maybe it'll work here, right? So here's what happens. Not kidding. Like mid-January, again, our anniversary is coming up in a few months, and I have nothing booked yet, but mid-January, I get done doing a message at Kensington, our church. I walk off the stage. This couple comes up. I've never met them before. They're a young couple, like, hey, we've been here for years, never met you. My name's so-and-so. I'm like, that's great to meet you. They go, we were wondering, like what? We're getting married this spring. Would you be able to do our wedding? And I'm like, well, I don't know. You have to talk to Debbie, my assistant. She handles our whole marriage mentoring and ministry. She can let you know depending on your date. And they go, well, we'll talk to Debbie, but we sort of need to know if you're even interested because it involves some details. And I go, well, like, what are you talking about? They go, we're getting married in May in Mexico. We'll fly you and your wife there free if you'll do our wedding. I'm like, I'm your man. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, unbelievable. And I'm not kidding. There was another one of our pastors standing beside me. He goes, no, I'll do it. I'm like, get out of here, dude. They asked me. So we did their wedding. We flew to Cancun, all-inclusive resort. You ever been to one of those? Come on, let me see your hand. Yeah, you guys are rich. I've never been to one of those. All-inclusive means a guy like me, it's nirvana. I mean, everything's free, everything. You don't pay for anything. You want a Coke at the bar, you get a Coke. You swim up to the bar in the pool and get a little, Arnold Palmer. It's just food everywhere. It's perfect. You just wear this little armband. I brought it back to Michigan and I tried it. It didn't work. But anyway, at the resort is awesome. So here's what happens. We're there almost 7 days. All we got to do for that free trip is a 20-minute wedding on the beach. God is good. So, but the reason they really wanted us there, which we didn't figure out till the end of the trip, was they wanted to hang out with us and wanted us to hang out with the wedding party, which we never did. Because we're so selfish, all we really did was enjoy the resort, go back to our room early. You know what I mean? The married couples know what we mean. We talked about it yesterday. So anyway, we're on our anniversary trip. So one day we run into the couple that we're marrying, and they go, hey, every night the whole wedding party, we go to the dinner club, and there's music and dancing, and you guys love music. You should come. We're like, really? Where? And they said, we'll be there tonight. And they go, we think they're playing a newlywed game. We're like, we're in. So we show up at this dinner club. Now, it's like a 1,000-seat thing. It's a dinner table, so you sit around and eat, and then they have a show, right? So as we're eating, these guys that you get to know, they sort of work the club and they work the pool and they try to get you involved in stuff. They know us by name, Dave and Ann from Michigan. That's all they knew. They come over to our table and go, hey, you guys would be great. Do you want to be in the competition tonight? And I'm like, no, we just want to enjoy the show. Okay, so they work the room. They come back and they go, we need one more couple. We need 8 couples. We got 7. You guys got to do it. We're like, okay, we'll do it. So we go backstage, and as we're going backstage, Nelson knows this about me. I'm pretty competitive. And I'm thinking we're playing the newlywed game, so I'm like, honey, let's get ready. What was our first date? We're going through all the questions they may ask. She goes, you are so competitive. You're cheating. I'm like, who cares? We're going to win this thing. So we go around the back, and there's a curtain, and we're standing back with all these couples. They go, what are we doing? They go, we don't know. So the curtain opens, MC walks out, has a microphone. He goes, tonight is competitive dance night. We're like, what? He goes, these 8 couples are going to dance all at the same time. The music from different styles, different countries around the world, they're going to dance that style, and you, the audience, are going to vote them off until we finally have one winner, and they will get a grand prize, which I'll share what it is later. And I'm like, we can't dance. We're terrible. It's one of my real beefs with God. I play guitar, I got rhythm, I can't dance. I don't understand, but I can't. So I'm like, okay, we'll get off first one. So they play the music. It's like Australian. You had to do a waltz. We're voted off. Second one off. First one, I don't know why. They're blind, but we got voted off second one. As we're going back to our table, the crowd who just booed us off is now cheering and wanting us back. So the MC goes, wait. You just voted them off. Do you want them back? And they're like, yeah. And we don't know why to this day, but he's like, hey, you guys are back. We're like, nope, we're not back. We're fine. We're sitting down. We haven't broken a sweat. We're cool. He goes, nope, you want them back. They start yelling, we get back. We think later maybe there's some Michigan people that just made a ruckus. Anyway, we're back. Long story, which is getting really long now. We end up in the final 3. And at this point, I'm like, let's win this thing. I mean, if they're that blind, is Stevie Wonder sitting out there or something, we're in the final 3, maybe we can win this thing. So he calls us up first. He goes, the last dance is going to be each couple all by themselves. Dave and Ann from Michigan, you're first. So we walk up. He goes, okay, last category is this, 60s music acrobatic. And I look at him like, what? I like 60s. I grew up in the 60s. I played band music 60s. But I'm like, what's acrobatic? He goes, the more acrobatic you are, the more votes you get. Do whatever you can. Well, here's what I knew and Ann knew and nobody in the room knew. Nobody there knows this one fact is really important. My wife, Ann, was a gymnast her whole life. And she can still do gymnastic stuff. She does one-arm push-ups. She puts me to shame. I mean, she's strong. She can do what you call, I think, aerials. It's like a somersault without hands, and she can do like a front or a back flip. So I literally, I'm in now. And as the music's starting, I lean toward her, and under my breath, I go, you end this thing with a one-arm push-up, we win. That's what I said. And she looks at me like, got it, And so the music started, and all I did was sort of go back over here and just do my little 60s thing. Just like that. That's all I got. That's all I could do is a little. And while I'm doing that, and I sort of saw this, but I more heard the crowd, she would be running from side to side. She'd go across stage, run, run, run. Crowd go, ah! She'd run this way. Ah! She did that back and forth. It was awesome. I'm just like, yeah, baby. You do it, man. You do it. Yeah, the whole time. And she's doing it. The crowd is loving this. And I'm like, we're winning this thing. I haven't seen the competition, but we're going to. So it comes toward the end of the song, and you can tell it's ending, and I'm like, oh, we need a grand finale. So I go over to the side of the stage, and it was a little bigger than this. So we're 20 yards apart. And I'm like thinking, like, how can we end it? And then I just go, oh, and I go, boom. Like this. And she's over there at the other stage sort of, dancing around, looking at me like, what? And I'm like, we can't talk. We just sort of are, come on. And she's like, and now here's what I'm thinking. I had in my head SeaWorld. You ever been there? You know what I mean? I don't know if it's a dolphin or porpoise or something that jumps through the hoop and does their little flip, goes in the water, and I thought she'll jump through, hit a little flip, hit the ground, one arm push up. I'll go right beside her and go, and we'll win. That's what I had. All that was in my head. I'm like, and now she's over here. And I didn't find out till later what she's thinking, but she's like, what? What? Oh, and she does this like, oh, I got it. So I'm like, good. So she goes sprinting. I mean, she's like Mary Lou Retton. And right as she gets to me, she goes into the air. And I'm right here, and I thought she understood, so I just sort of made my arms a little bigger. She goes through, and I turn. I mean, I thought she knew, but she didn't. And as I turn, I mean, literally, I turn, I don't even see this, I hear this, bam! And I look, and she is face planted, and the guys are running to help her. The MC looks at me, and by the way, when I turned around and saw her, I looked at the crowd, and every one of you, they were like this. I mean, they weren't looking at her, they were like, you are the biggest jerk. Because it looked like I did the, Linus football thing, pulled it out, yeah, it looked like that. Like I set her up and then went like that, but they didn't understand. I really didn't mean to do that. I wish we had video. Nobody videoed this. But she face plants. I didn't share this first service. The MC looks at me, because I'm over there like, honey. And he looks at me and he goes, dude, you need a counselor. That's what he said. And under my breath, I said, I sort of am a counselor. That's what I do. And the crowd, I mean, for the next 2 days at the resort, every time they saw me, they're like, you're that guy. You are the worst husband. I'm like, no, nobody would believe me. But here's what you need to know. We won. We won the competition. And guess what we won? I really thought it was going to be a free trip back. All expenses paid. We won 2 T-shirts. I am not kidding. I sleep and paint in those whatever. So, and here's one other thing you need to know. I don't want to tell you this, but it's the truth. Anne broke both wrists. Yeah, now you're looking at me like they did. You're like, you are a jerk. Yeah, I am. I mean, I just never saw, because she told me later, she goes, I thought, when she gave me the look like, oh, I know what you mean, and started running, she thought Dirty Dancing. Remember when Jennifer, what's her name? Jennifer Grey jumps in the air and Swayze caught her and spun her out. And she's right. Why didn't I think of that? So that's why when she jumped, she landed on nothing but her wrist. It's the only thing that caught her, because she did not expect not to be caught. So she landed. And here's why I tell you that story. Some of you got to know Ann a little bit this weekend. Most of you have never met her, maybe never will. But she is that woman. What I mean by that is when she does anything, this is one of the reasons I married her. I saw it when we dated. She's all in. She does nothing halfway, nothing. Marriage, being a mom, her walk with Jesus, nothing is sort of, or 50 or 70 or either 95%. She gives everything she's got to everything she's got. I remember dating her and thinking, I think that might be a character quality that would help in marriage. And it surely is. So when she ran and jumped, that's the way she does life. She's like, if I'm going to go, I'm going. And one of the reasons I think we don't commit like that to different things in our life, because a full-out, all-in commitment, that's a phrase we use in our house a lot, all in. An all-in commitment means you might get hurt. That's why people don't do it. Because see, if I give everything to this man, or if I give everything to this woman, or if I give everything to Jesus, if I give everything to this job, and it doesn't work out, I'm going to get hurt. So I'll just sort of, can't live life that way. Can't do it. Your marriage will never work if you're sort of in. Your walk with God will never work if you're sort of in. It's just not the way to do life. So I want to talk about 3 commitments. When I say commitment, every time I say it, I'm thinking all in. I'm going for it. I'm going to do this like this. Okay, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, I'm going to get hurt, and that's part of the deal. So let's talk about 3 commitments, and we're going to start with the one that we talked about all weekend with your couples. And I just call it this: commit to love one another, or more importantly, maybe commit to your family. That's where we've been for 2 days with your couples, and that's what we've been talking about. So let's start there and say, okay, out of that, what happens? And these commitments go in a different order, but I'll explain that at the end. But one of the most important commitments you'll ever make are to the people that matter most to you. That's your family. Now, I know family are the hardest to love. You know I'm right. You know, everybody's got that uncle. It's like, oh, dude, it's like Uncle Eddie on Christmas vacation. Everybody's got that dude. And so we want to be committed to him, or your wife or your husband, it's just like those are the hardest people to love and be committed to because you know them so well. But God says the most important people in your life are those that are closest to you. And so when I say commit to your family, I mean your family, single, married, but it also is those people that are so close to you in life, they're like family. I got 7 guys that I do life with. They're like family. I mean, they're closer to me than my 2 older brothers who are 10 years older than me. They're just closer. And so when I say commit to love one another, I mean those guys and their families as well as my family. So that's what I'm talking about. You should have, I hope you do, some people that you're doing life with. A life together group here at K2 where you're saying, these are like family to me. And I'm saying to you, commit all out to love them and be committed to them. Jesus said this way, this is my command, that you love one another. How? Just as I have loved you. Now, how did Jesus love us? You know the story? Was it sort of in? No, it was all in. It was like this. I'm giving everything. I'm giving my life. Why? Because I love you that much. He says, that's the example. As I have loved you, love those that matter to you. And I tell you what, I have learned over my life that we get caught up in things and other people and events that aren't as important as the people that God has put right around us, our family and those closest to us like family. I was thinking, as I was throwing this message together this last couple of weeks, I was thinking of the time that Dave Nelson and I, years ago, went to a Promise Keepers event in Detroit. You guys know what Promise Keepers is? You know, it's still around a little bit, but it's basically 10 years ago or so. Ministry to men all around the country that would fill stadiums, and they were at the Silverdome speaking on how to walk with Jesus, how to become a man of God type thing. So we took about 500 people from Kensington there. Dave and I were there, and we were sitting in the end zone at one end of the stadium, and the speakers were at the other end zone. And I'll never forget a guy named Joe Stoll. Joe walked on the stage, and I knew Joe, you know, just a little bit because years ago he was a pastor in Highland Park, Michigan, and I'd had him come in and do chapel, which means speak to the Detroit Lions guys that came to chapel before some of our games. So I knew him a little bit. At this point, he was the president of Moody Bible College in Chicago. In fact, my middle son has been married 2 years. He's going to graduate from Moody Bible in 2 months. So anyway, Joe gets on the stage. I don't remember anything about Promise Keepers, but this one story. You know, I'm thinking, you're going to remember what I said today? You're not. 5 years from now. I remember one thing Joe Stoll said that changed my life. He said this, I'm a father of 3 sons. Right away, I leaned forward because I'm the father of 3 sons. At that time, my boys were real little. Now they're 25, 22, and 20. And his sons were like into their 20s. So I'm leaning forward like, okay, this guy's ahead of me in the game. He's a dad of 3 sons. I better listen. I might learn something. He tells this story. He says, my middle son loved basketball. And when he was in high school, he asked me, Dad, can we put a hoop in our front yard on the driveway? Joe said, my first words out of my mouth were, yeah. He said, you would think I'd say yeah, but he goes, I got to be really honest with you. He goes, the reason I hesitated, he goes, I don't want to tell you this, but it was true of my life at the time. He goes, I was a guy at that time that wanted my front yard to be perfect. He goes, I didn't hire a lawn company to do it. I did it. I manicured it. I worked on it all the time. I wanted my yard to be the best yard in the street, on the street. So when my son said he wanted to put a hoop on there, it's like, it's not going to look good in the front, but I said, yeah, because I knew he loves this, and this is something I should do as a dad. So he said, we put the hoop up together. And he goes, almost every day of his junior year in high school, that son asked me to shoot hoops with him. Joe said, almost every day, I said, no, I got to work on the yard. A couple times I played with him. Most of the time I said, hey, about a little later, I gotta finish up. And he goes, most of the time I remember that year is watching my son shoot while I worked on the yard. And then Joe told this story. He said, later that year, I was coming home from a funeral that Joe performed as the minister of his church of a 16-year-old high school kid in their church. He goes, I'm driving home thinking about the brevity of life and what really, really matters. That's what happens when you face death. And he says, as I turn onto my street, I can see Joe telling the story. It's just like it was so rich. He says, I turn on my street and I look down the street and he goes, there it was. Just like beaming out at me, the symbol of my misplaced priorities. He said, I saw the basketball hoop. And there it was. And he says, as I drove up to my house, he said, I looked at my house and I thought this, yep, the yard is perfect. Yep, it's the best yard on the street. And guess what? Who cares? See, it hit him. It's like, I want a nice yard and so do you. But he's like, really? Instead of that, I thought that mattered. He said, so I knew right there in an instant, I knew I'd wasted a year. He said, I walked in the house. I went upstairs to where my son was doing homework in his bedroom. He said, I opened the door and I went in and said, hey, man, you want to shoot some hoops? And my son turns from his chair and goes, Dad, I got homework right now, maybe later. And Joe said, I said, okay. And I shut the door and he said, as I was walking down the hallway, he said, I said under my breath, I missed it. I missed it. I missed a season of his life where I could have been a dad involved, but I was a dad doing the yard. And Joe said, I'm not going to miss anymore. It took a funeral for me to go, what are you doing? See, I think God is saying to you and me, commit all in to love those closest to you. So I was sitting in the back of the I'm leaning forward like, oh my gosh, my kids are little, and I've still got some years. I'm going to do this. And it was so hard to do. I can remember older parents, which I now am, would come to me as a younger parent and say, hey, man, seize the day. These days, and they'd look at my kids, they're going to be gone like the snap of a finger. You're going to blink your eye and they're going to be gone. And I didn't say this out loud, but inside I'm thinking, these days are forever. You know, I'm up at night. They're grabbing me every second. There's snot on every pair of pants I got. You know, it's just changing diapers. Like, these days will never end. Are you kidding me? They're not going to be gone in the blink of an eye. And guess what? Gone. I shared yesterday as we closed out the conference, I stood in front of my son several months ago in our chapel at Kensington and did his wedding as the pastor and father of the groom. And I just couldn't believe that he's gone. I mean, this kid had a beard. You know, he's got facial hair. Like, you're just a little cute little, what happened? You know, seriously, those of you that are older, it's like, yep, that's it. Now we're empty nesters. And we walk in the house and we listen for laughter and it's gone. Except for my wife laughs, but it's gone. The kids are gone. And that's great. That's where we are on the stage. But it's like, wherever you are, whether you've got kids in the home or you don't have a family, you're single, I think God is saying to you and me this day, commit to love one another. Commit to love the family God's got you with right now. Maybe your biological family, it may be others. Commit. That means time. That means effort. That means talk. The biggest struggle for the couples that came to the marriage retreat the last 2 days is to do this. They've heard about it. They walked out yesterday like, yes, I'm in. Where will they be? Where will you and I be a month or 6 months or a year from now? See, it's one thing to say commit. It's another thing to go, I'm going for it. No holds barred, I'm going for it. So that's the first one. And out of that one comes the middle one of the three commitments. And I just said it this way. Commit to reach your neighbor. Commit to love your neighbor. Commit to something bigger than you. We do marriage mentoring, and one of the things we teach pre-married couples coming into marriage is this. Marriage is not about you. I hate to burst your bubble, but he is not going to make you happy. Oh, yes, he will. You don't understand. This guy's awesome. Yeah, I know. Wait till you marry him. You know, Oh, you don't understand. She is an amazing woman. I know. Wait till you get married. You will not believe how she disappoints you. And that's just the way marriage is. It isn't about you being happy in marriage. Now, I want all of us to be happy in marriage. I want to be happy in my marriage. But if I go into marriage thinking that's the goal, I've missed the whole point. The goal of marriage, and I know you've talked about this in your series last couple of weeks, is God instituted marriage and the family for a bigger purpose. It's to reveal to the world who God is through those people. I'm saying that from a Christian standpoint. A Christian marriage, a Christian family is like, I call it revelation. You reveal to the world who God is by the way you do marriage God's way. Not perfectly, but the neighbors should be able to see a difference. That's the mission of marriage. And that's about my marriage. My family is to be used by God to reach my neighbor, to reach the guy beside me in the cubicle, the guy I'm at school with. That's the mission. It's bigger. We talked about this weekend. If these couples walk out there thinking it's all about wanting to love one another, they miss the whole purpose. That's part of it, but it's a bigger purpose so that our love, so that our marriage, so that our family, so that our legacy would impact our neighbor. And when I say neighbor, I mean those that are around us in life. One of the best passages I love is Matthew 5, where Jesus said these words, "You are the light of the world." Now we got to stop right there. You, who's you? He's speaking to his disciples. He's speaking to followers of him, and he's saying, you are the light of the world. Now, if you've read the Bible very far, you're like, wait. I thought Jesus said he was the light of the world. Good question. At this point, he's transferring the light that God gave him. I am the light of the world, Jesus said. Now he says, you are the light of the world. What? The light that God gave me, I'm giving you. You now take it. I'm not here. You are. You are the light of the world. Now look what he says. Very interesting. He says, a city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor does anyone light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Now what's Jesus doing? He's using a very common illustration. One is a lamp in a house. Now I'm not an interior designer, but my wife is. At least she thinks she is. And she always tells me, no, don't put the lamp there. Well, why not? No, it needs to be right. Oh, yeah, right there. I'm like, right there? Yeah, right there. And you see the couch? You see it's going to shine light right. Okay, got it. Where do I put this one? Oh, no, don't put it. See, designers do that. It's like, oh, no, you set it here, and you set it here, and you set it here. They are strategic. Now, here's what's really interesting. Go back to the verse. He says, a city set on a hill. I did a study of that passage. The word set on in the Greek means strategically placed. Think about that. Jesus is saying a city, and he's talking about cities that they knew of, they strategically place them on this hill. Where? No, not here, right there. Put it right there. Build the city here, because people down the valley need to see light. There it is, right on the hill where they can see it. They know where safety is. They see the city set on a hill, strategically placed. So what's he saying? Here's what I think he's saying to you and me. I have strategically placed you, Dave Wilson, you, insert your name, in this place. Salt Lake City, in this street, at this school, on this team, in this work environment, and this work group at this workplace. Now, some of you are going, you really think God is that strategic? Yep, I do. And some of you heard me this weekend, I'm a skeptic. I don't believe things easily. I study them and go, I believe life is not random. I believe God strategically is involved in our lives, and he has a plan for our life. I think it's even specific and strategic. I really do. Now, does that mean we don't have free will and we don't make decisions? No, we make decisions. We choose the house we want to live in. We choose the schools we want to go to. And at the same time, somehow behind the scenes, God is involved. Both are true. Free will, destiny, both are true. And I believe God has placed you and me to make a difference. Now, you may sit there, wait. I didn't even plan on living in Salt Lake. I'm here because of divorce and blah, blah, blah. Guess what I'm saying? God somehow, even through broken stuff, I got you right here. I believe the cul-de-sac I live on, I chose the house. Ann and I loved it. We bought it. We think we chose it. And I think, maybe God was saying, I placed the Wilsons right here. Shine your light to Nancy and Dean, your neighbors. Don't go to church. Don't believe in God. Living together. Invite them over. They're in our small group. It's awesome. We love them. We don't judge them. We barbecue with them. Tiffany and Scott, our neighbors on this side, love them. Reach your neighbor. the Paulians all go to our church now because we just love them and they start. It's just, that's where God has placed you strategically. I believe God says, commit to that. Open your eyes and say, why am I in this work environment? Why am I at this school? Why am I in this classroom? Open your eyes and go, oh, maybe he wants to use me as the light to reach them. I learned this in a dramatic way. I was in college, became a follower of Jesus Christ going into my junior year in college. I was a hellion till then. I don't have time to tell you my story, but I was a guy who just thought everything was found in women and drinking. I was the quarterback on campus, led the nation in passing. I'm like, I'm the man. I'm going to enjoy all that. And it left me empty. And so as a skeptic, my older brother said, you need to find and it starts right here, right now.